I did a lot of weird hand motions, so that's fun. Hey everyone, welcome back to Rima Reads. I would say welcome back, but if you're new here, you're also welcome, so welcome all. Yes, today I am going to be doing my August wrap up. I read 3 books in August, but I ain't even mad because I started a booktube channel, so 3 books is great. Let's get into it. The first book I read this month is Reverie by Ryan LaSala. Reverie is essentially about this boy Kane who wakes up with no memories, but he has crashed his car into this historic building and it went up in flames, but he was somehow, saved from this wreckage. And he has no memories of this event, but the police are mad at him because they're like, did you do this on purpose? Vandalism? Should you go to jail? He's a high schooler, so they have to, get the psychiatrist to come in and evaluate him, see if he's lying, things like that. His family's mad at him, and then his sister kind of has his back and is trying to help him figure out what's going on. And so throughout the book, Kane is trying to pick up pieces of what happened that night, and he slowly realizes that he's forgotten more than just memories from that night, but memories of his life, of his friends from school, and this cute boy that he likes, and this whole concept of reveries. Reveries are people's deepest dreams and desires that are so wanting that they manifest into the real world. Essentially, they manifest and take over a section of the real world, and people are pulled into sort of a play where they don't know that they're acting roles in this reverie, and the person who created the reverie, the main character, also doesn't know. And then there are a few people who are awake and aware during this reverie, and Kane is one of them, and his friends from school are others. Their goal is to try and keep this reverie, in plot. You want a reverie to stay on plot as much as possible, because if something goes wrong, then the reverie will compensate and create more and more plot twists, and things can go out of hand, people can get hurt, you don't know where the story is going. So you want to keep the reverie on plot until it reaches its climax, and then you can unravel it, basically ending the reverie and pulling people out safely. That was such a cool concept. I really liked it. It means, trying to figure out, who to trust from all of these various people, trying to figure out what his role is with the reveries. Good things about this book, like I mentioned, the concept of reveries is super cool. I really enjoyed reading about them. I also really liked a lot of the side characters. I thought were really, really cool. The mysterious boy that Kane feels drawn to, thought was pretty interesting. I liked his friends at school as well. There's great queer rep in this entire story. Kane is openly gay, and he talks a lot about what it meant to him. So Kane talks about also how important it is to have his psychiatrist who's a drag queen like him that he could see and connect to. There's also a lot of sapphic background characters in the story, a few women love women relationships peppered in there, which is great to see. So lots of great representation in this book. Unfortunately, there were a few things that detracted from my enjoyment of this book. First off, while I did love the concept of reveries, it wasn't executed as well as I would like. Parts of it were very confusing. I feel like the author didn't explain a lot of things about the reveries, and then would throw in different things in there, and I was like, wait, what just happened? Is that possible? I couldn't wrap my head around a few things. I'm still unclear on where the reveries came from, even though I think they explained it in the book. And so there were a few times where I had to go through and reread little sections and be like, what's going on? Other thing I did not like was Kane as a character. Unfortunately, he was an asshole. He's real shitty to his sister, who's just trying to help out. He's mean to his friends and the boy he likes. Part of this is explained in the narrative as like he's just confused on like who to trust and things like that. But I feel like it was pretty obvious on who you should trust Kane. And even still, even if you're suspicious about people, you don't have to be such an asshole. One of the characters literally calls out how Kane is such an asshole, and before his memories were lost, he wasn't like this at all. And I'm like, why couldn't we just have the story of that? Like, why did we need shitty memory lost Kane when we could have had cool Kane all along who was nice? Kane was an asshole, and he also like didn't have that many redeeming qualities that was like, ah, yes, I understand why you're being this way. It's more just like, can't you just like be polite to people? It's not that hard. So I did not like Kane, and unfortunately, if I don't like a character, that greatly detracts from my enjoyment of a book. And so I ended up giving this book 3 stars because I didn't like Kane, and a lot of it was confusing. Overall, though, I do think the concept is really, really cool, and I kind of want like a movie of this book because I think you can make it really awesome. Like the visuals of like recreating Reveries would be so cool. So I enjoyed it, but there were things I would have changed in this book. So the next book I read is Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I'm just like, oh, thank you, Foundryside. You were such a great read. Also, I keep wanting to say Foundrysides, but it's just Foundryside. No S. So sorry if I say that a lot. Foundryside is kind of like a heist book. Really cool world building and things like that. So in this world, there are artifacts that are scribed. Essentially a way to like convince things to do things. That's like a horrible explanation. Let me go closer. Convince things to do things. I do that all the time. If you have a wheel that you want to keep rotating, you scribe it to make it like think that it's going downhill, and so it'll continue to move even if you don't like have a horse that's pulling the wagon. You scribe the wheels to make it think that they're going downhill, and they'll continue to move. You use scribing to like convince objects that their reality is different than what they are currently perceiving, which is a really, really cool magic system concept. I love cool magic systems. So that was great. In this world, there are like these large merchant houses that control, you know, their little individual merchant areas, and then everything else is basic lawlessness. Wealthy are wealthy and the poor are poor, sort of thing. And our main character, love her, is Cynthia, and she is a thief who also has the ability to hear scribings. Like she can hear like little murmurs if there's a scribed object nearby, and then she can also like touch a scribed object and like basically learn some things about them, like, hey, this wall is particularly weak in this area, sort of thing, which is super cool. She starts out as she's a thief, and she's been hired to steal this valuable box for a lot of money. And of course, things don't go correctly. This box actually contains really old, valuable scribed objects. So before, like thousands of years ago in this land, scribing was at levels that these people currently don't see. Like scribing is newer to them and trying to figure out, versus the ancients had it like down to an art. So she finds a key that's an old, valuable scribed object that can basically unlock any door in the world. So this key is not only able to unlock any door in the world, but because it's an older scribed object, it can unlock the key to scribing of the past and make the wealthier more powerful with their scribed objects. So Cynthia, when she gets the key, is able to actually hear its thoughts, and they're able to communicate and speak. So the key's name is Cleft, and I love him, and I love Cynthia and his relationship. Yes, I love a relationship between a woman and her key. It's fine. Really though, they have a great friendship. Amazing. And so that was really, really fun to see. There are two other point of view characters. There's Captain Gregor, who is a PTSD veteran, and also the son of one of the merchant houses. And his goal is to, clean up and, change the city and make it, orderly and have some laws in there. And then there is also Orso, who's like a master scriver, and he worked for a merchant house that went under and is now working for, Gregor's mother's merchant house. These folks, Sensia, Gregor, and Orso, end up getting entangled in this plot for Cleft the Key, who we love, do some heisting. This book was amazing. The plot picks up right away and it'll keep you intrigued all the way. I also high-key assumed, like straight at the beginning, that Sensia and Gregor would be the romantic couple of this story, just because like they're, similar age groups, things like that. But no, Sensia has a female love interest, so more queer rep, which is great, and took me totally by surprise because I was not expecting that. Also great on representation. Sensia is also a Black woman. I loved Clef, and I love his and Sensia's relationship. That's my favorite part of the book. Just a girl and her key. Her characters were all super interesting as well, and the plot is fast-paced, moving. If you like heist stories, if you like cool magic systems and fun world building, highly recommend. This book also has great takes on like the corruption of capitalism and power, and so I'm excited to see these themes evolve more in the next book as well. I think there's a lot of really cool places that Robert Jackson Bennett can go from here. I love this book. It was 5 stars. If I had to be like really nitpicky, notice this in City of Stairs, which is another novel by Robert Jackson Bennett. I think it's better in this book, Foundryside, but I do wish he included more character introspection in his novels to make the characters feel like a little bit more alive and real. For example, there's a point in this book when Cincina's like, I'm done with this shit, I'm peacing out, goodbye, and then Gregor gives like a whole impassioned speech, and then she's like, okay, no, I'm back in, I'll stay with you guys. And the thing is, like, I thought Gregor's speech was great, but we don't really get, a paragraph or even a few lines of like why Gregor's speech resonated with Sensia, and that's the reason why she's changing her mind. Like, what parts of it resonated with her? Why would she choose after being, like, why was she convinced by the speech, essentially? And I feel like there were a few moments in the book where I would have preferred just like a few lines of character introspection, because I like that a lot. I think this book did way better in that sense than City of Stairs. Part of the reason why I gave City of Stairs 4 stars when I read it was I wasn't as connected to the characters, versus this book I loved all of the characters. And so this is just me being very nitpicky on the certain thing I wanted to see. But overall, great book, highly recommend, and I'm super excited to read the next one. And then the last book I read this month was Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Yedayemi. I created a reading vlog, if you haven't seen it yet, on this book, and to describe my reading vlog is essentially watch my hope slowly fade to despair over the course of me reading this book. I did not like it. It's the second book in the Legacy of Orisha trilogy. The first book is Children of Blood and Bone, which I really enjoyed. It was a good book. There were a few parts that I was like, don't like that, but I had thought those parts would be gone in the second book, but no, they were in fact more prominent in the second book, and also a lot of my favorite characters were ruined. There wasn't a good consistent plot. If you want to know exactly all of my thoughts on it, you can watch my reading vlog. I ended up giving that book 2 stars. So, shame. Luckily, I read Foundryside this month, or else August would have been quite disappointing. So thank you, Foundryside. You great. But yeah, those were the books I read in the month of August. I don't think I've ever ended my video telling people to subscribe to my channel. Y'all should do that, please. Also leave comments and talk to me your thoughts on these books, or if you're excited to read them, or what you guys read in August. That would be great. So yeah, excited to hear from you all. Bye.